The first thing he felt was heat, dry, steady, alive, pressing against his chest, and for a long moment the rancher thought he was still dying, because heat was the last thing a man felt before the dark took him for good. Then came the smell, crushed sage, old wood, iron from dried blood, and something softer underneath it all, something human. His eyelids trembled, heavy as barn doors after a storm, and when he finally forced them open, the world swam into shape slowly, like a photograph developing in a tray. The low ceiling of a one-room cabin hovered above him, beams darkened by years of smoke, sunlight cutting through a narrow window and painting a bright line across the floor. His head throbbed, his ribs screamed, and sitting beside the cot, calm as a cat who knew she'd already won, was her. She leaned back in a wooden chair, one boot hooked around the leg, long dark hair braided over her shoulder, eyes sharp and amused as they met his. He tried to sit up and failed, a groan tearing from his throat before he could stop it. "Easy, cowboy," she said, voice smooth but firm, like hands on a nervous horse. "You were closer to dead than you think." His memory crashed in all at once, hooves spooking at the river bank, the sudden crack of gunfire, the burning punch in his side, the long fall into cold water. He stared at her, suspicion warring with confusion, and then the words tumbled out of him raw and unfiltered, the way truth always came when a man woke up not knowing why he was still breathing. You kissed me while I was out." Her lips curved into a slow, dangerous smirk. "I saved your life, cowboy." He blinked, certain the pain had finally scrambled his brain. "That ain't an answer." She leaned forward then, elbows on her knees, close enough that he could see the faint scar on her shoulder and the way her eyes didn't flinch from his. "It is where I come from. Outside, the prairie stretched wide and gold, the river winding through it like a secret that refused to stay buried. But inside the cabin the air felt tight, charged, as if the walls themselves were listening." He swallowed hard, trying to piece together how a man like him, a rancher who kept his head down and his promises kept, ended up bleeding out in a shack owned by a woman who looked like trouble wearing a smile. "Who are you?" he asked. "Someone who didn't let you die," she replied. That should be enough. It wasn't, and they both knew it. He shifted again, pain flaring, and she reached out without thinking, palm pressing his chest to keep him still. The contact was brief, practical, but it sent a strange awareness through him, as if his body remembered something his mind didn't. "You had a bullet lodged near your ribs," she continued. "I couldn't get it out without killing you. So I stopped the bleeding, kept you breathing, and waited. Waited for what? For you to wake up," she said simply. He exhaled, staring at the ceiling again, trying to steady himself. "And the kissing part?" Her smirk deepened. "Your breathing stopped. I wasn't about to let all that work go to waste." He turned his head to look at her fully now, the absurdity of it mixing with a grudging awe. "So you kissed me back to life? More like reminded your lungs what they were supposed to do," she shot back. Silence settled between them, thick and uncomfortable, broken only by the distant call of a hawk outside. He noticed then the rifle propped neatly by the door, the knife on the table within her reach, the way her posture was relaxed but ready. This wasn't some frightened woman who'd stumbled on him by accident. This was someone who knew how to survive. "Men looking for me?" he asked quietly. Her eyes flicked to the window, then back to him. "Men looking for you," she corrected. "They were thorough. If they'd found you in the river, you'd be floating face down by now." A cold weight settled in his gut. "You should have left me." "I don't do what I should," she said, standing now, crossing the room to pour water from a tin kettle into a cup. "I do what I decide." She held the cup to his lips, and he drank, the water grounding him, anchoring him back into the world. As she pulled away, he caught her wrist gently. "Why?" he asked. Not just why she saved him, but why she stayed. Why she watched him like this moment mattered. For the first time, her smirk faded, replaced by something older, harder. Because once, she said, voice low, someone walked away from me when I needed them most. She pulled her hand free and turned her back, staring out at the prairie as if it held answers she refused to speak aloud. He watched her, realizing with a slow, unsettling certainty that whatever had brought them together wasn't finished yet. Outside, the river kept winding through the land, carrying secrets downstream, and somewhere beyond the horizon, the men who'd tried to kill him were still breathing. He lay back against the thin pillow, pain and gratitude tangling in his chest, and understood one simple, dangerous truth. Waking up was only the beginning. By nightfall, the wind had shifted, carrying with it the low promise of trouble, and the rancher felt it before he heard it, the way a man feels eyes on his back even when he's alone. His strength had returned in painful inches, enough to sit, enough to stand with her shoulder under his arm, enough to look out the cabin door and understand how exposed they truly were. The prairie that looked peaceful by day became an ocean of shadows after sunset, every ripple of grass a hiding place, every sound a question. She moved with quiet certainty, barring the door, dousing the lamp until only embers glowed, then crouching by the window with her rifle steady. "They won't stop," she said softly, not looking at him. "Not until they're sure." He nodded, jaw set. "Then we don't give them time to be sure." When the first hoofbeats cut the night, distant but deliberate, he felt the old ranch-bred calm settle into his bones, the kind that came when fear had no more room to grow. He took the rifle she handed him, wincing, and together they waited, breaths measured, listening as the men circled like wolves testing a fence. A voice called out his name, oily and confident, promising mercy it had never learned to mean. The rancher didn't answer. He watched her profile in the dim light, saw resolve etched there, and understood then that survival had braided them together whether they liked it or not. When the shot rang out, hers clean and warning, it cracked the night open. Horses reared, men cursed. Another shot answered, splintering the doorframe. The rancher fired back, the recoil tearing at his wound, but he held steady, buying seconds, then minutes. She moved like smoke, repositioning, drawing fire away from him, leading them to believe there were more guns than there truly were. At the edge of panic, he caught her eye and she gave him the smallest nod. Now, he shoved the door open and ran, not far, not fast, but enough, drawing them after him toward the riverbank where the ground softened and lies became truth. The trap was simple and brutal. Men who chased didn't look down. When the first horse went screaming into the mud, chaos followed. Shots flew wild. He fell, pain blooming white-hot, and for one awful heartbeat he thought he'd dragged them both into death. Then she was there, hauling him up, her voice cutting through the noise. "Breathe," she ordered. Hands firm, eyes fierce. Together they disappeared into the reeds as the river swallowed sound and light alike. Dawn found them miles downstream, soaked, shaking, alive. He laughed then. A broken, disbelieving sound, and she laughed too, leaning into him as if the world had finally loosened its grip. By the time they reached his ranch, smoke curled from the chimney and no riders followed. He knew what that meant. She'd chosen him, and the danger that came with him. "You don't have to stay," he said, honest. She looked at the land, the fences, the open sky. "I already did," she replied. Weeks later, scars knitting and wounds fading, the truth settled between them like a shared sunrise. Saving a life can change two at once. If this story pulled you into the dust and danger, if it made you feel the breath held between survival and loss, then don't ride away just yet. Subscribe to the channel.